Canada's bubbles are about to burst. You cannot deny that anymore. I've been researching this for years, and you can see this coming right now to the edge of this cliff, and it's about to go down. I have seen this because I've talked to so many people in the real estate industry, in the finance industry, and they continuously have this denial about them. No matter how bad things get, they're always thinking that it is a bull market, but that is absolutely not the case. Now, I'm doing this video here specifically. I've gotten many requests to do videos about Canada, and I will do that now. I've done a couple recently. If you want me to do videos about another specific country, please let me know. I'll do that. And let's get into this right now. S&P downgrades rating for 6 Canadian banks. So the top 6 banks got a downgrade. And why is that the case? You know, we were told specifically that Canadian banks were among the strongest in the world. In fact, the Canadian economy was one of the strongest in the world. Now, what happened right there? In fact, it's not just S&P that did it. Moody's cuts the outlook for Canadian bank debt due to negative over bail-in regime. Now, I thought that bail-in regime that they talked about in the 2013 budget report wasn't true. I thought that it was all taken care of, and you know, they said, no, you were mistaken. Well, that's not the case. These 2 rating agencies have downgraded Canadian banks because of this issue. Now, previously in the early 90s, the Canadian banks basically failed, and they needed to totally reform the way that things work, and there was a lot of stability there. I will definitely admit that in the Canadian banking industry. However, they're exposed to trillions upon trillions of dollars of derivatives, so you know what's going to happen with the derivatives, something I cover all the time. And this bail-in regime is yet another scheme that they have gotten themselves into, and this is really going to be a big problem. In fact, the Bank of Canada cuts forecasts amid serial disappointment with the economy's recovery, and they're having big issues. And actually, the Bank of Canada actually admitted it right now. This is brand new information, saying that there is a serial disappointment. What did he say exactly? Right now, we do not have sustainable growth picture in Canada. That's pretty obvious, because you have the drivers being the exports. And who are they exporting to? Well, primarily, by far, they're exporting to the US, but the US has their own problems right now. So, of course, we are going to have problems in Canada. And that's the consistent denial that just doesn't make sense to me. When you have individuals saying, look, the US is bad, and they watch it, and as it's burning down, they're watching it and they're almost laughing at it here in Canada. It's pretty stupid, because you have a neighboring country which you do practically all your exports to, and you need to have them do well. If you want to do well, your neighbors have to do well. That works in any community, and that works between countries and cities and everything. You can't have one without the other. That's globalization. Canadian housing to start showing signs of easing over the next 2 years, and that's according to the CMHC, and you could see that already with the overheated housing prices along Canada, particularly in Toronto and Vancouver. This is undeniable, because you just look at the prices, they're so astronomical. Something that I wrote about in my book. I show you all the different statistics. You can use any statistic you want, but the most important being how much you earn per year versus the average home price. It makes a lot of sense to look at it that way. Historically, it's so out of whack. It is unbelievable. And at the same time, you're adding up all these other schemes they're doing. Let's look at this. So this is Hodgkin saying, valuations are incredibly stretched. The banks aren't just exposed because of their mortgage business, but also due to stretched consumer leverage. Something that I bring up often, talking about how the individuals themselves have never been in more debt. This is the most all-time record high debt they've ever been into. Businesses are in debt, the corporations and the countries are in debt, cities are in debt. Everyone is in debt because it's a system of debt, and right now it's at the most it's ever been. So of course we have a bubble approaching, this debt bubble, and it's got to pop. Let's look at what I wrote about in my book very quickly. This is a chapter on real estate, saying specifically regarding Canadian real estate, it is undeniable, however, that their values have certainly formed a bubble and are due to come down. I specifically wrote that in the book because I knew it has to come down. Look at the mortgage rates are so low right now. If they come up just a little bit, people are simply not going to be able to afford it. It's just impossible. They can't afford it. And particularly with a lot of people choosing the variable rate mortgages, it's going to be a disaster for them. Now, you have big issues here. You have interest rates at all-time lows. You have the threat of bail-ins. You have all kinds of currency wars that are taking place. You have exports to countries like the US, which are going to have their own struggles. You have nothing really to look forward to over the next little while, the near few years, let's say. And you even have this issue where the Federal Reserve bailed out Canadian banks during the financial crisis, and they will of course not admit it, but that information was released. It was released information. Bloomberg has it. I've covered it here before on this show, and it is undeniable. Why? What's going on? They won't tell us, but the whole banking industry is a fraud. It is all basically a show for us, and I, for one, do not want my money in this system, knowing specifically that we're going to have big problems in the future. Now, I will say specifically that real estate is an excellent investment overall. Do not deny me on that. What I want to say specifically is that yes, the housing prices are overvalued and that they are coming down. That's all I want to mention in here. And we have big threats. Don't think that the Canadian economy is necessarily this rock solid thing that will never fall. That's not how it works. Whenever you have a bubble, it will pop. I hope that you like this video and that you will give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to these videos as well. You want to be a subscriber to the Money GPS YouTube channel. And last but not least, the Insiders is where I give out all my best intel, and best of all, it is totally free. It's just good, short, concise emails that you get in your inbox, and to get that, you go to themoneygps.com, you scroll down to the bottom, and you fill in your email address. Take care.